today doing a little arm wrestling philosophy, or just basics, I guess, if you want. This is a crane scale, okay? Now when you pull it, you get a number, okay? The higher the number, the more you're pulling, right? Now that's, I hope you can understand that fundamental aspect translation to arm wrestling, right? Now the thing is, you can't go more than one direction at a time, okay? So when people are like back pressure and side pressure, okay? It's not like you're going this way and that way. You can't go two directions at the same time. That's physically impossible, okay? So again, so when you understand that, first, it's a number, higher and stronger in a direction, okay? You want your directions to be the strongest they possibly can. Then when you understand that you can only go one direction at a time, okay? So now we have the basics, okay? So now it comes to the application of that, okay? So if you have your arm in such a position and you go like this, there is a chain of custody of power, so to speak, right? The wrist, if the wrist fails, it'll go back. The arm fails, right? Shoulder, you start separating, okay? So which positions? There will be positions which allow you to generate the most amount of single direction force, right? All direction is single, but so single force. And those are going to be when you are either A, completely behind the frame, right? Or you flop wrist most likely because, like we said, one of the points of custody in this chain would be the wrist. And if you just let the wrist go, now you're just on the strap. And strap breaking, you know, I don't care how strong you are, even Levon, his wrist cannot hold more than a strap can. Right? It's just, you wouldn't use a strap because you would break it. So the strap has to be stronger than the arm wrestler's hand. Again, you have to put this into the things that you need to be aware of, right? So with the notion that the strap is stronger than your hand will ever be, one of the ways to generate the most amount of force will be to forego the hand and use the strap. Okay, now people, they don't like that. For whatever reason, they hate on the fact that there's a flop wrist press, which is just the inside version of this entire chain being one way, right? So when your shoulder's behind and you're pushing like this, where's the chain going to fail at this point? You have your strap here. I mean, either your wrist is going to break or so. This is crazy strong. There's nothing to open up, right? But if you're applying the pressure like this, you can be opened up here until you turn it to here, and now you're just pulling, okay, which is the king's move, which of course they hate on. And why do they hate on these two particular moves? Or what is it about these two particular moves? They allow you to create the greatest single lane force, right? Like if you were to pull on the crane scale with your arm like this, at a certain point your muscles will give and your arm will open up. And then you can keep pulling though, and you will now generate more force, and the force will now be until your arm can get ripped out of its socket, which is of course way stronger than your arm being opened up. So if you can just pull on somebody with a straight arm in arm wrestling, theoretically and in application, you can generate the highest range of one directional force. Same with the press. So the philosophy of arm wrestling should be to use either the king's move or your other moves, right? Because you can't win with a king's move, okay? So it's not but transitioning to the press should be the goal, right? So whatever you're doing, it should be to get to the press so you can then rev that number to the most it can be and get the finish. People love, like, oh, this looks beautiful, look at me. Oh, look at how good I look, but I'm not getting the win because I can't just close the door. You can't just close the door like this because things can open up. So in arm wrestling, it's not about being pretty. It's not about anything. It's about going one direction with the most amount of force you can. But before you can do that, it's securing the connections that you need to do that. So your arm should be to get your elbow in and then behind. Because also when you touch, you can touch your tricep to your chest and your forearm to your bicep. That is a connection. There's nothing that can close there. Use that. Get behind it. This is what Jerry does. That's why Jerry's such an animal, right? again, are there ways to counter this? Sure, but at the end of the day, you have to get one direction very high, and in my opinion, the best way to do that would to be to secure position through defense of kings moving, so you just pull back as hard as you can to wear them out and open up, and then you slowly move in and then just transition to the press. I think that's why Devin does what he does, because fundamentally I don't think there's a better way to supermatch arm wrestle, because I think if you look at it on paper, you're applying the most amount of possible force in the backwards direction against them as they drain out of their power, and then you transition to the highest level of your attack power, which would be the press. That's why I think that is such a strong style. It's why I think he's adopted it. Other people hate on it, but those are my thoughts.